Hey y'all, it's Sheridan LeBay here with Untamed Marketing, coming back at you with another Marketing Mondays. If you're not familiar with my channel or these videos, I post videos every Monday or so sharing my insights and my experiences doing marketing, events, business building, and everything in between, and including some life stuff in there too. I am the owner of House of Untamed, which houses Untamed Marketing, Untamed Nights, and Untamed Lingerie. So yeah, let's get into it. This is like my 5th time recording this particular video. The devil trying to win, y'all, but this outfit too cute and my makeup too cute. So we're gonna make it happen. My phone's on 15%, but we're gonna make it happen. So today we're gonna talk about sponsorships, collaborations, and pros and cons of all those things, right? I'm gonna grab some of my wine. It's been a long day. But yeah, just gonna let's talk about sponsorships first. What are sponsorships? What do they even look like? People are always asking me like, how did you get so-and-so to sponsor? How did you, blah, blah, blah. So I'm gonna give you the rundown, the inside scoop. All I can do is lead you to the water. It's on you to carry yourself the rest of the way. So sponsorships, basically, pretty much people use sponsorships for events. So if I have a dinner party and I want a liquor sponsor, that can look like having Jameson, for example, sponsor my event, and they'll say, hey, we can sponsor up to 50 drink tickets, or we can do X, Y, and Z, or we can sponsor up to this, and this, or we can, provide some type of like collaboration effort, a sponsorship effort. It could look like you're having an event and you have tables or you have vendor booths and you want somebody to sponsor and you offer them leverage. So the benefit of sponsors is that you're going to these companies and saying, hey, I can do ABC and offer you access to this audience. I can offer you public recognition. I can offer you a prominent spot on our website, front row seat at the event. Whatever it looks like, it's going to vary per event. But my experience, I used to work for a chamber, and when we would have sponsors, it would essentially be, okay, you're sponsoring, which means you get first priority seating at a luncheon. Your name's on the program. Your name's on our sponsorship screen, like at the event. Your name's on the flyer. So you're offering those companies, hey, for $1,000, we're doing A, B, C, D, E. So it has to be a value exchange. You are offering a value for them to basically sponsor a portion of your event. And it can look like different things. So I can have a brunch and say one of my friends, or it doesn't have to be a friend, say I know someone that does, they rent chair covers. And I'm like, do you want to be recognized as a sponsor in exchange for offering us 20 chair covers for free? Or sometimes people will sponsor food. I might work with a caterer and they're really trying to build their business up and they're like, hey, we'll do appetizers for you for free, just for exposure, just for sponsorships. So it's usually a mutual beneficial agreement when you have sponsors. I've had sponsors over the years in the form, typically I'll have like liquor vendor sponsors. Sometimes we'll get dessert sponsors for events. I've also had people do sponsorships in the form of just strictly for exposure, or vendors. So sometimes you may have an event where they might not be able to, being a sponsor may be like out of their budget, but they can be a vendor and it might be a fourth of the cost, and then they can have a table and promote their products. So that's pretty much the 401 on sponsorships. Typically when I have events, I create a sponsorship package. So I base my sponsorship pricing off of what my event costs. So if I have what the event costs and how many people are going to be there. I'm not going to charge the same thing for a sponsorship for a 20-person event that I would for a 1,000-person event. So those prices will vary. Same thing with vendor booths. Sometimes I know people who charge crazy amount of money for vendor booths, and I'm like, it's 10 people here. Why would I pay $200 for a vendor booth? But people do that. The numbers have to make sense, at least for me. Like, and that's no shade to anybody. The numbers just have to make sense. I'm not going to charge somebody $200 for a vendor booth and it's 10 people here. Because with vendor booths, my thought process is that as a business owner that sells products as well, my thought process is that I'm only going to purchase a vendor booth if there is a certain amount of people that are going to be there to where I can at least make my money back, if not more. So if I'm selling lingerie for about $20, $30 a pop, that's kind of like country, $20, $30 a pop, I pay $75 a vendor booth. It would take me about 3 pieces to break even, right? But you also have to weigh in how many people are going to be there and is it my target audience? Because me getting a vendor booth at a Boys and Girls Club event, which is very extreme, a Boys and Girls Club event and selling lingerie does not make sense. Me getting a vendor booth at a conference, like people have different events and conferences where it's like catered around lingerie and that type of environment, that makes sense. So when you are hosting an event and you're wanting sponsors and you're wanting vendors, make sure it makes sense for that audience. You don't want to waste your time or their time by offering or asking someone to be a vendor and then it's not relevant. Like I wouldn't go to, I'm trying to find an example. Nothing's popping up for me. I wouldn't go to the YMCA and say, hey, do you want to sponsor my naughty Halloween dinner? That doesn't make sense. But if I'm having a charity luncheon for children, it would make sense. So you want to make sure that the people that you are targeting, they're actually going to benefit from the event you're doing. Because I think sometimes I've had people ask me, oh, give me this contact, or how did you do this and this? And it's like, that sponsor's not even going to be relevant to the event that you're doing. Sometimes I think people just want sponsorships just for the sake of sponsorships. Or it's like, why would a liquor sponsor this particular type of event and they're just not going to get the exposure from it, versus you just having a bar and charging people. So just be realistic in the sponsorships that you go after. It's like, I'm all for shooting your shot, but also be aware of the likelihood of your shot landing. And then be professional. So when you want to reach out to people, have that sponsorship package ready. Have that vendor package ready that says, these are the sponsor levels, these are the vendor package levels, this is what it includes. Make sure those levels all differ in what they include, and have that ready to email people versus just casually asking people to sponsor. So that's the sponsorship side of things. I want to talk about collaboration because I think that's like a hot topic. I probably could talk about that all day. And I'm gonna take a sip of my wine for that. But I've had a lot of experience with collaborations. I talked about this in another video of lessons I've learned early on in business is you don't need to collaborate with everybody. And I think sometimes we want to collaborate because we're scared to like do something on our own, or we think we need somebody else's audience. You don't. Sometimes you may, but you don't. I promise you. And I'm not saying that I have not enjoyed any collaboration that I've done for the most part. But I can definitely recognize in myself where me reaching out to people was because I felt afraid of doing it by myself when I'm more than capable of hosting that event or hosting whatever it is by myself without somebody else's name on it and without sharing the profits and sharing the responsibilities. So I would say the cons of collaboration, or not even the cons, but the dark side of collaboration is that you don't really know people. I think that especially in Houston, people get really excited. They'll meet you one time. They're like, oh, let's do business. Let's collab. We'll do. I've learned very early on, and still recently, you have to really learn people and their character. Figure out what their business is about. Figure out who they're about. Who is their audience? How do they conduct business? Do they have the finances to do it? Do they have the experience? What is their reputation as a business? Those are all very important things before you jump into something and say, hey, I'm collabing with A, B, and C, and D. I haven't had any bad experiences collabing on events necessarily, but I will say that I have collaborated on events, and I've done events for 4 years. So I can say this very loosely and not target any particular person because I've done a lot of events in the last 4 years. So it's no particular shade, but I do feel like there are a couple events that it didn't benefit me to have a collaboration, whether that's people, everybody's not going to market for the event the same way you do. Everybody's not going to have the same energy or be as invested in the event being a success as you do. Um, everybody, those are the main two things. And I learned that because I've had an event before and literally everybody at the event was people that I knew. And I was just kind of like, well, what was what was the benefit of me collaborating with you? And these are all my people. Like now I'm splitting a profit with you for an event that you essentially didn't contribute to besides the finances. So that's just something I've learned early on where now I don't reach out to people for collaborations as as eagerly as I used to, because when you how do I say this? When you have your shit together and you work with people who don't, that waters your product down. It doesn't water them down. It waters you down, and you feel a kind of way because they didn't lose anything out of it. They already weren't doing things. So that would be one of my tips about collaboration, is just being mindful of people, right? Like just being mindful of people. Yes, we meet people, we get excited, but really learning who they are before we attach our name to something with their name on it. So that would be my first tip. Or my first kind of like the dark side of collaborating. And I had another experience on the collaboration side, but more on lingerie. So recently, I was going to be working with a designer to make special made lingerie pieces. And things didn't go how I expected. I won't go into too many details, but a lot of it on my end, like I'm definitely one of those people, I will take accountability where I can, of like I will never do X, Y, and Z again. And it's just learning people's character and really vetting people. Like really vetting people and seeing how they conduct business, seeing what they've done before in the past, seeing like getting referrals and talking to people who've worked with them before. That is very important. Like very important, because you will lose hundreds of dollars from not deciding to take a little longer to vet somebody before you work with them. So that would be my tip. Nothing, I wouldn't say nothing crazy happened, but I was just very disappointed with the outcome of the project that we were supposed to be working on. And, we not necessarily amicably parted ways, but I'm just one of those people. I'm in a space in my life where I'm not going to spend a lot of energy trying to go back and forth with people. Like, I know that more blessings will come from being like, I've said my piece, this is how I feel, and I'm going to go about my day. So that would be something else I would just say, is just being mindful of the people that are around you. Like, everybody's hunger is not the same hunger. And that's something I've had to learn over the past few years, is that everybody's hunger and everybody's motivation is not the same. And I'm not saying that to act like I wake up every morning drinking 6 egg yolks and all of that, but I can tell the people who really want it, and the people who are about their business, and the people that are professional. And I can tell the people who are like, oh, it sounds like a good idea, but there's no follow through for it. So I'm very particular now about collabing with people. I've had people that I've reached out to collab, and because at the time they didn't see the value in my vision, didn't take me seriously. And now they're knocking at my door, and it's like, I don't need to collab with you. Like, I wanted to collab with you years or months ago, and you didn't take it seriously, or you didn't take my business seriously because it didn't look like how you were doing yours. And now you're knocking at my door, and it's like, I'm good, because you couldn't see the vision when I first presented it to you. So that would just be the dark side of that, is just be mindful. And it's not all bad experiences. Like, I would definitely talk about the good experiences, but just being mindful. Like, I don't have any regrets. I'm still gonna get some custom made lingerie done one day. But yeah, that's just what I would say about that. So So on the positive side, collabing is fun. Sorry, y'all, this dress has been giving me hell. And this is like my 5th time recording this video. So the positive sides are kind of just obvious positives, but when you collab with the right people, it benefits both of you. That's when you know that you're in the right space. If you collaborate with somebody and it benefits both of y'all, y'all have the same energy going into the project, y'all on the same path, they give you the same energy with promoting, they promote as much as you do, they're equally bringing things to the table, go for it. How do you know? Two things. So one, I don't really do a lot of collabs anymore. Just because I don't. I really feel like I just don't. And I'll leave it at that. I just don't. I only really want to collab with people who have the same energy and drive that I do. If you don't, I'm not going to collab with you. Even if you have Instagram clout or whatever else, if you're not representing value and integrity and actually know what you're talking about, I'm not going to collab with you. So, I said all that to say, on the positive side of things, when you collab with people that it's a good fit, you'll know. And so for me with my events, I don't even more so much collab. If I want them to be a part of my event, if I want them to be a part of my event, I just hire them. Unless it's somebody that I can't hire. So it's like, I could collab with this therapist, or I could say, hey, how much does it cost to have you come speak? Period. Or, oh, let me bring on this person to teach this class versus collabing. So that's more so where I'm at anyway with it. Is like, the only reason I would really collab with somebody at this point is to teach. Honestly, because it's just like, at this point in time, I don't benefit from doing an event that is a collaboration. For the most part. Like, it would have to really make sense. It makes sense on paper, it makes sense on work ethic, makes sense on the professionalism, makes sense on the audience. Do we even share the same audience? It would have to make sense. But I have done events where I'm like, this was really fun. I would do it again, but it still technically wasn't a collaboration. It was for example, I work with a lady named Ask Goody that's in Dallas. Let me take a look at my line. Her name's Ask Goody. And she does like different fun sex classes, right? So we collab, but I pay her for her services versus me being like, oh, let's collab and we what's the word? I can't think of the word. Let's collab and we split everything. I pay her fee, right? And it still feels like a collab because we work together and she still brings in her following and I bring in my following. But yeah. So how I go about collaborations is I have press kits for every event that I do. If I have an event idea that I want to execute that I'm coming up with, like not somebody bringing it to me, I have a press kit for it. Like I have a press kit for it. So, and with that, I basically the press kit's like a 3 or 4 pager. It talks about Untamed nights, talks about my experience, my audience, past events, pictures from past events, really like a resume for events, basically. So with that, then I email it out. I'm like, hey, I really want to work with you. This is my experience. This is my idea. Let me know what's up. And then from there, we have a lot of different planning meetings. We plan everything together. We split up and divvy up the tasks. We split the expenses. We split the revenue. All of the things. So that is what a healthy collaboration looks like. Mutual interest, mutual benefit, and mutual work and investment being put into it. And then the last thing I want to talk about, which I'm still personally growing in, but I want to share my experience, is doing partnerships. So partnerships, I'm referring more to like a brand partnership, like with Ken Euphorics, and I'll drop their info below. I have a partnership with them where I post different things about their products. I have a partnership when I have events and I get a discount code to share with the people that attend my events. I've done some other partnerships for some other brands. Partnerships is something I'm still learning, but I would say don't be afraid to shoot your shot. Like with Ken, I tried the product. I really like their product. And I think I first shot my shot in their DMs because they're still like a newish company. I say newish, but they're still a young company to where if you DM them, they're probably going to see it, you know, versus like Nike or something. So I DM'd them. I got there. Somebody responded with their email. And then I sent them my press kit and then like my influencer press kit essentially. And then was just like, hey, I would love to collab in any way possible. It may take time. Like, don't expect it to be an overnight thing. Don't expect the response right away. But if you have value to provide and you are offering it to a company that you actually would use without the brand partnership, they're going to happen. Like I would never pitch to a company that I don't support just for the sake of pitching. Like I wouldn't pitch to, I couldn't think of a brand. I drew like a whole blank. I drew a whole blank, but I'm trying to think of an example. I keep looking for stuff around here. I wouldn't pitch to HP because I don't use HP computers. I wouldn't pitch to HP. It's like the same thing to talk about with stocks. If you're new in stocks, don't try to focus on stocks for things that you already buy and use, like, because that'll make you more interested and invested. So yeah, if anybody's interested in working with brands, getting sponsored, or being like an influencer or brand ambassador, definitely hit me up. I can answer any questions that I know to the best of my knowledge, but I'm still learning too. Ken is my first really big partnership, and I actually really believe in their product. So that is, even though I'm drinking wine right now, I just thought about it, but I don't really drink a lot anymore. Ken is really good, and this is not like an ad for them, but I really like their stuff. But my point is, I'm getting to the point. My point is, shoot your shot for companies that you want to be a brand ambassador for, but make sure it's companies that you use. Like that would just make it more, realistic to get it done, right? So yeah, I just want to share my journey with sponsorships and partnerships and collaborations. The key takeaways are really doing your vetting, knowing who you're working with, have a meeting. Don't be afraid to say, hey, I don't think I really enjoyed meeting with you, but I don't think that at this time, me and my company, or I can do this event, or I can do this partnership. It's okay to say no, because you'd rather say no than say yes to something that you really should have said no to, and now you're upset, right? So definitely don't be afraid to say no to things that don't make sense for your business or make sense for you. And then if it does make sense, just make sure everything continues to be mutually beneficial, mutual investment, mutual, all of that, right? Like you want it to be mutually beneficial and all of that. If any point in time you feel uncomfortable, talk about it. Communication is great. And if you can't come to an agreement, walk away. Like life is short. I talk about that in my last video. Life is short. Do a collab if it makes sense, if it's beneficial, but don't feel like you have to do a collab. Everything does not require a collaboration. It just doesn't. Everything doesn't require a collaboration. Every event you're hosting doesn't require a sponsorship. Sometimes you need to just increase those ticket sales and make your money that way. So my biggest advice would be learning to read the room when it comes to deciding if you need a partnership or a collaboration or sponsorship, and then moving accordingly. And you'll be great. Everything will be great. We'll all continue to learn and we'll be great together. So thanks so much for tuning in. Hope you learned some things. If you have any additional questions about those things, if you need help creating a sponsorship package or wanting to just kind of look at and see what those finances are, definitely hit me up. I'll have all my info in my bio or the link. And yeah, I look forward to talking to you guys. Until next time, this is Sheridan LeBay signing off with Untamed Marketing, and I will see y'all later.